to Life, Love, and Therapy. I am Jumi Olawale. This show is about learning tips, advice, and ideas about how to improve our lives and relationships from the viewpoint of a therapist. I am so excited to have the one and only Sue Tamilio here. She is my friend, and we have known each other for many, many years. We went to seminary together, and I am so pumped to have her on Life, Love, and Therapy for my listeners. Sue, I'm going to have you introduce yourself.
Oh my goodness, Jumi, thank you so much for having me. I am a currently single mom of three absolutely amazing young adults now,
I know.
22, 19, and 15. I am a forensic case manager working with people who have severe mental health diagnoses, alcohol and other addictions, and are part of the justice system. And it's just an absolute amazing thing to be doing at this time in my life. So I'm an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ. I am not currently serving a congregation. My ministry is happening with the work that I do as a case manager, but I do still preach. I do still marry. I do still do funerals. I do ministry, honestly, every day of my life. So I have my Master of Divinity. I also have a Master of Arts in Counseling Ministries, which is how I met you.
So today we're going to be diving into the topic of divorce, the process, and what it's like afterwards. How long were you married?
We were married in June of 1993. The reason why I start there is because we were technically married until 2014, but we officially separated in 2012. 18 and a half years of being together as husband and wife and almost 20 and a half years of marriage.
And what made you feel like you were ready to take that path of divorce?
That's a hard question. For many, many years, I think the two of us had drifted apart. It ultimately came to the point that we just weren't good together anymore. We had both hurt each other and we both needed to move on. I think one of the things that probably kept us together was the fact that we had three kids. And it was ultimately, I have three kids and I don't want them seeing this as being the way relationships go. And it's hard. It was a hard decision. When we were married, when we were dating, I thought this was forever. That's
Right.
the way I went into it. And it didn't work. And the decision did not come lightly.
When you both made this decision to separate and eventually to divorce, how did you tell your family? How did you tell your children and your parents?
Our families knew that we were separating before our children knew. They weren't stupid. They weren't blind.
Right.
They knew that there were issues going on. Ultimately, before my ex-husband had moved out, we technically were already separated, but still living together. And with our families, we just called them. With the kids, we sat them down. It was in the living room of our previous home. We just shared. We didn't
Yeah.
get into the reasons, but we did say, we haven't been happy. We've made this decision to separate. That was at that moment.
Mm.
And we were going to try, but we still love you. We're still a family. We just look different. We
Yeah.
just look different than what you're used to. You still
Yeah.
have a mom. You still have a dad.
Wow. How was that for you as a mom?
Heartbreaking because I saw the pain and the fear and the confusion in my kids' eyes. Really was the right decision. You never want to do something that's going to cause your kids pain. This was the most incredible pain that was being caused to our children.
And how was it for you to have to transition from the vision and the idea that you had that this was going to be a forever thing?
Oh, it was hard. Not gonna lie. I knew it was right. I had lost who I was. I had identified myself as a wife, identified myself as a mother, and ultimately in all of it, I didn't know who Sue was anymore. That was hard. Went into depression. I think it was a grieving, is probably the best way to put it. And it took some time for me to live in that grief
Mm-hmm.
because it's worthy of grief. No matter the reasoning for the decision, it's a period of life that had meaning.
Yeah.
It was important. That period of life created three absolutely amazing human beings. And there's value in that, of course. So it was right to grieve. I allowed myself to sit in that, but I didn't know who I was anymore.
When you knew that you felt like you were losing yourself and you also knew that this was the right decision to make, did you experience times where you just felt like, am I making the right decision? Is this crazy? Should I turn back around?
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Again, when you sit and think back through all the years and you think back through what brought you two together, of course you can't help but question it. But looking at what was best, not only for myself, for my children's father, and ultimately for my children. Well, I would never presume to speak for him, but I know my ex-husband is happier. I am happier. And despite all the craziness and chaos that ensues, my kids have said to me, you're better apart than you were together.
Wow.
They see that we needed to go our separate ways.
It sounds like they had to do their own grieving and their own healing to get to that place.
Everybody did. Everybody did. It's a brutal process. Even during the process, lots of hurt happens. And sometimes after the process, hurt happens. But we do the best we can.
Yes. So, Sue, how was it for you as you made this journey through this grieving process? Did you have people that walked you through it, that were able to be there for you to ground you?
I did. I had a couple of very, very dear friends who just walked right alongside of me, even if they weren't physically right next to me. But as I had said earlier, I had lost myself and I was pretty isolated,
Mm.
which may be surprising for you to believe because you saw me at seminary and all
Yeah.
the friends and the conversations and the interactions. That was actually when I was beginning to find myself, but before the divorce had happened, which
Right.
honestly I think also contributed to it in some way. I was rediscovering myself even in the midst of not knowing myself.
Oh, hold up a second.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you and I were in seminary together, and what you're
hmm
telling me is that while you were in seminary was that moment of rejuvenation for Sue
hmm
as she, tried to figure herself out, and that also contributed to that decision to make that divorce happen.
I don't know that it officially contributed to the decision, but I was growing into an entirely new person. Forever and ever, I was mom, and that was it. I was mom and I was wife, is the way that I see it.
Yeah.
My ex-husband can't speak for him. He may see it differently, but I was mom and I was wife, and I wasn't Sue. So for years, I had wanted to go to grad school, but I
Mm.
put that on the back burner for someone else to be able to pursue their higher education. Then I started pursuing it in Kansas City when we lived there. And then we moved to Ohio for job opportunity. I had to find someplace else to go. And that's what brought me to Methesco. So I was growing. I was
Yeah.
questioning. I was growing in ways that I hadn't in many, many, many years. I think me growing, I think we also grew apart. Honestly, I don't think we spent enough time working on us. We went about our things and got caught up in life, in being parents. And I know it's an oversimplification of it all, but I honestly think we didn't devote enough time to us to work through the things that were happening.
So, as you were now divorced and trying to figure yourself out, you said you used the word I felt isolated. Tell us a
Mm.
little bit more about that.
I didn't have a lot of friends in the community in which that we lived in. All of the friends that we had were connected to my ex-husband's employment. And within the streets of my community, I knew people, but I wasn't connected with people. So I was isolated. And I would be in communication with my seminary friends, with other dear friends that lived around the country. And I literally had to make a concerted effort to not be isolated, to put myself out there, even in the midst of grieving, in the midst of feeling alone. Newly single mom, their dad moved to a different state, and I was here trying to figure out how to be a single parent and how to help my children grieve, how to care for myself, and how to build community. That's what I did. I built a community, one person at a time. And I know it's a simplification, but one of the transformative moments was I woke up one day and I said, I don't want to be sad. I don't want
Mm,
my children to see this. And I'm going to reprogram my brain. So I had sat in the grief long enough. I could have sat there for a long, long time. And I made the decision, I don't want to sit here anymore.
mm,
And I don't want my children to see me sitting here anymore
wow.
because the grief had become comfortable.
Mm,
Music is always very, very important for me. It gets into my spirit in ways that almost nothing else can. Set out and to create a happy day playlist.
oh,
And literally, I knew songs that made me happy. I asked all the people in my Facebook community at that time, what songs make you happy? And I still have the Happy Day playlist to this day. And I literally, the times that I said, nope, I want to reprogram, I'm going to be happy, I would play these songs that made me and other people happy. And before too long, I'm dancing and I'm singing. And times that I wanted to be sad, I owned that. And I had songs that would make me cry.
mm,
I had, pieces of my heart playlist. I would play these songs that I knew would end up making me cry so I could get those tears out because tears are healing.
yes.
And so I did. I had this dichotomy of the tears of my heart and a happy day playlist. And I literally took the time, if I still needed to grieve, because grief doesn't go away, if I needed to grieve, I would grieve. And when I needed to be happy, I would play these songs. And it started making a change in me. I started taking ownership. And again, I know that's an oversimplification of the emotions that we carry as humans, but there was power in that for me. And
Mm,
so that was me taking control. I started losing weight. First, it was because of the divorce, the
right,
stress, the
right.
anxiety. But then I realized, nope, I need to take care of me. And ended up part not by intention, and then part very intentional of caring for my body and my spirit. I ended up losing a total of 65 pounds.
Whoa.
And I remember when I came back I was in the midst of that, and I came back for graduation, and one of our mutual friends just looked at me. He saw this change in my eyes, not just the weight loss, but the change in my eyes. And he said, "There you are. I knew you were in there."
Whoa.
I was like, I'm finding me.
That sounds like some major like identity work, right?
Yeah, it's important because I had been with this person since I was 19 years old.
Wow.
So the majority of, well, half of my life, little more than half of my life. So you do see yourself as not you, but part of a unit. It required a lot of identity work and a lot of me processing through the mistakes that I made in our relationship.
Yeah.
Which, except in the most extreme circumstances, obviously issues of physical abuse and you name it, when a marriage fails, it really has to do with both parties. Again, except in more extreme circumstances. I see the mistakes I made in our marriage. And so I had to get over the guilt. I had to get over the shame. I had to learn about myself and what I wanted for myself, what I wanted for my children, what I wanted for a future partner. And I knew that I couldn't give all of that to my kids or a future partner until I gave it to myself.
That is so powerful.
And it's not easy because we're hardest on ourselves, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
We are absolutely hardest on ourselves. It takes a lot of work to face our demons, to face our mistakes, and to not define ourselves by them, even though other people may want to define us by them, to know that we're not defined by the mistakes we make. We're not defined by the choices we make. We are beloved children of God. We are frail. Each and every one of us is broken in some way, and we all make mistakes. And we're all worthy of love, and we're all worthy of redemption. We can chart our journey. And it's, gosh, all right, Jumi, this is hard. This is hard stuff, even given the place that I'm in, which is in a really, really good place. It's still hard to go back and even after these years, it's still hard. I needed to do the work to find me, to really look at not only what other people needed of me, but more importantly, what I needed of myself.
As you made this transition and worked on your own identity, how was that for you when the holidays came and birthdays came and all the things that you used to celebrate together as a group, as a unit, for you now to be celebrating it in a different way?
The first year that their dad lived in another state, he had them for Thanksgiving and New Year's. I had them for Christmas. I wasn't giving them up for Christmas. I just knew I needed that. And so that Thanksgiving, I actually spent with friends, and it was nice, but it was hard because I missed my kids. But I had them for Christmas. The following year, which was actually the year that our divorce was finalized, literally days before Christmas, my kids were flying to be with their father. And this was going to be the first Christmas in my entire life as a mother not having my children. I was not going to be okay. But I also didn't want to tell anyone that I wasn't going to be okay. I was also pastoring a church, so it wasn't like I could just leave because we had Christmas Eve worship. And my brother called me one night and he said, the kids are coming here to the state. And I said, yes, they are. He said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm working Christmas Eve. I'm just going to chill. I'll see about seeing some friends. And he said, absolutely not. You are not spending your first Christmas being divorced and your kids being gone. You are not spending that in Ohio by yourself. And he bought me a plane ticket, and 6:00 Christmas morning, I was on a plane going home to be with my parents, to be with my brother and his family. That's how I survived my first Christmas without my kids. It's gotten a little easier when I don't have holidays with my kids, but it's never easy. We create new traditions for the times that we're not together on days that are important to us. So we celebrated that year. We celebrated New Year's Eve. We had a little mini champagne toast. Then the next morning, we got up and we celebrated Christmas. So it's all about recreating traditions. There are those things that you do year after year, and they have meaning, but recreating is just as beautiful. We all sat out and literally just came up with new things.
New traditions.
Yep, absolutely. And on the years that they're not with me, which will be this year, we celebrate typically on New Year's Day.
Sue, I would like you to tell the audience, whomever is on that journey, what would you tell them? What would you have wished somebody had told you?
You're gonna be okay. And even though, yes, some people did say it, I wish there were people who had gone through it that said, you're gonna be okay. Because they're the ones who have lived it. I had wished people had not given me easy fixes or easy answers, because the process isn't easy. It's the hardest thing I've ever been through, but you're going to be okay. And surround yourself with people. Create your village. As I said earlier, I was feeling really, really isolated. So over the past 7 years, I've slowly created my village here in my village. And this summer, when I got very, very sick and almost died, my village came out in force. Here I am, single mom, almost die, in the hospital. The days after I was released from the hospital, I lost my job. I had no source of income. I had my village. I had my children, and I had my village. After 6 months unemployment, I then land a new job and health insurance, but it was my village that got me through. Had I not spent that time intentionally creating my village, reaching out to people, kind of putting my ego aside and saying, no, I can't do this alone. Gosh darn it. Being a parent is hard. I need help. Everything serves a purpose. Everything has a reason. And I don't know fully what those reasons are, but I know that the work that I was able to put in created this community that is family.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much. That is it for this episode. Thank you for joining. If you're looking for ways to help this show, please leave a nice review and recommend this podcast to your friends. Also, don't forget to like me on Facebook at Jumi Olawale Therapy and Counseling, and follow me on Instagram at Jumi Olawale the Therapist. If you have any topics that you would like me to cover on this podcast, please reach out to me via Facebook or Instagram. And you can also send me an email to jumiolawale@gmail.com. This is your host, Jumi Olawale. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.